Hello, I'm back with another video explaining my most recent 3D printed project, which is a steampunk gear clock. There's no name for it, it's just a clock that's kind of in the steampunk style. And the inspiration for this project came because I was thinking of like some kind of 3D printed project that uses simple electronics that could also be functional, but also have like a really cool like style that you can add to it. And I thought I was like, you know what, a clock would be so cool. So I made a clock. I'm gonna try to explain like the process in like a couple different parts. There's going from like the pictures, doing like research, doing the actual sketches, and then doing the actual modeling, printing, and then actually assembling everything together. But in reality, when I was doing this, it was kind of a lot of back and forth between everything, so it's just like a process, basically. But I'll try my best to explain like what I did in case for those who are interested. So I drew a lot of inspiration from pictures I found online. There's this particular steampunk gear clock that kept popping up when I just like searched into Google. And I really like that design. So you see that here, it's very similar to the one I made. I basically took like how you design stuff and then just added parts that I liked and then removed parts I didn't like from this picture basically. And then combine it with like other photos. So example is like I found some gear designs online that are like really high quality to kind of make these gears because I thought they were like too much the same. So I was like, okay, how can I make these gears like look kind of different? I also like looked up like clock faces and basically replaced the clock face in here because I didn't really like how it looked. I wanted it to be more like geary with more gears. And I also didn't really like the rods in the the photo I mostly drew inspiration from, and I was trying to make it like look like train rods. It took me a really long time to figure out what they're called, and once I did find out, they're called Cooperling rods. Like once I found out the name, it was so much easier to find like what I was looking for. So that's why you see some of these like train pictures over here. So here's the main sketch I did after going through those pictures and like getting the idea of what I was looking for. And after I like drew this, I bought a clock box from Amazon that would be in the main gear here for like the clock face. And once I got the actual gearbox, everything depended on like that clock box. So like in terms of measurements. So for example, like here, like as a lot of gibberish, but me trying to figure out like, okay, how wide should everything be? Like from here, like, oh, the minute hand is like this many inches, the hour hand is this many inches, so therefore like the entire diameter of this, this part is like whatever inches, um, and etc. And yes, because I am American, I used inches. I'm so sorry for those who do not use the metric system. Or sorry, not the metric system, the American system. I don't remember what it's called, but yeah. And then also also thinking about things like weight, the battery, the size of everything, and that factored into how I like actually sketched it out in Fusion 360. Another thing I researched was the effect of acrylic paints on 3D models, and so I will credit the person who made this model. So this is like an octopus pumpkin, and I made it for like Halloween time, and I printed it out and I got some acrylic paints and I was like, okay, let me paint it and see if like the paint will stick, and it actually does. So after using this experiment, I was like, okay, I might as well include like acrylic paints into my project. So I can just buy like one color for my gears and then just paint over it in order to change like the shading of the color of the print. So pretty much what I did here is I imported like the sketch I made as a canvas into Fusion 360, and then on top of that I made all the sketches to go with it, basically. So you can kind of see some of them here. Let me just unhide all of them. And then the hardest part of doing the sketches is actually the Roman numerals. So in order to get the Roman numerals to work, I actually use like Fusion 360 has a like option where you can make like letters. So there's one here, but once you make them, they're very rigid. So I did some modifications on to make them like more flexible, and like so that it would go around this the the clock itself and be kind of curved. And I also accounted for a fact, like all of the measurements I made with my research to make sure like, okay, so the clock box will actually fit in here, and then everything is like as I expected in order for what it would look like, and etc. And then after that, I made like the actual what's it called? Sorry, the models, the bodies, by like using extrude, and I also use a lot of like drafts and taper as well to try to make it more interesting, since I know this thing is pretty 2.5D. A lot of stuff I make is also pretty 2.5D, but just to give it some more depth as a 2.5D like object. And then I positioned everything so things would fit together. So like all these gears, like then I rotated them, or not rotated, like moved them along the axes in order for them to fit together and also have like kind of a layering kind of deal. You can see this rod's actually like floating right here. So yeah, and then also making sure that these rods would actually connect together, and everything. Also moving the gears so that whenever I was like putting it together later, it would realistically have enough support to actually hang. So like this one, like if I moved this this spiral gear a little bit more too much out, like it wouldn't actually like stay inside the gear. So making sure that was also accounted for. Then after I made some ridges using subtraction of body copies. So like right here, so this used to be a whole wheel, but then cut it off so that it would actually stay inside the parts and kind of fit together like a puzzle piece. If I take these out, you can see like there's actually two small covers behind it in order to actually make it easier for me to like fit this gear inside, like kind of like a puzzle piece. So there was a lot of that going on in the model. Then later I cut the bodies for printing, since this thing is pretty massive. Like the center gear itself is already like more than 10 inches in diameter. So as you can see, these like lines here, those are so that it would actually print on my 3D printer bed, which is about like 8.2 inches by 8.2 inches. So yeah, so doing that as well.
One patient to the next. Fearless curiosity is at the heart of
Dinner tonight looks great. So I don't really have a good way to conclude this video, but that was just showing the process of making this steampunk gear clock that you see here, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See ya!